We are acted upon most effectively by power relations internal to our own sense of ourselves. Then the resistance to power must perhaps take the form, ultimately, of an unprecedented, non-ascetic, perhaps anarchic form of self-repudiation.
Growing up, I looked up to my older sister who was a natural athlete. Naturally, my parents expected the same thing from me. I began playing basketball since junior high school and took both swimming and golf lessons at 13. There was always constant reminders to be the best, to win the most awards, and to make the time commitments I made for these sports worth it. To me, waking up at dawn to start these responsibilities was a routine that I had to follow, as staying at home, merely enjoying personal time, was thought in my household as lazy and wasteful. When I entered college, I decided to lead a different lifestyle without the pressures of sports. I no longer desired to be told a specific schedule to follow, and rather live a life that is geared toward enjoying time to myself. I decided to rebel and make my own decision, therefore to stop being imprisoned by expectations.
As a child, my parents structured my life around several activities in school. In kindergarten, they enrolled me in private school that was known for its teachers and education. After class, I had Chinese school every day because my parents wanted me to speak and write their native language fluently. Every other day, I would have ballet attendance after my Chinese class. During the weekends, I had piano lessons and art classes. In all of these activities, there has always been someone of power and control of my actions. These institutions taught me discipline and structure that would affect the rest of my life. When I was in private school, I hated all the rules and regulations I was required to follow. I started to rebel in second grade by doing minimal work on the homework or refusing to study for a test. This was when my parents decided to pull me out of private school and enrolled me in public school. When I first entered public school, I thought there was so much freedom. I no longer had mandatory after-school programs and the homework was easy to me. However, I still had a lot of activities on the weekends, but that was better than having them every day. The discipline that my private school teachers imposed on me as a child still carried over when I went to public school. Instead of completely rebelling against school, I became a great student. I had the mentality of getting my work done instead of completely ignoring it. This would be an example of Foucault's docile bodies because I was programmed into being a student. All the discipline and routine that I experienced through school activities molded me into the student that I am today. Even though I rebelled against the private school system, I became a great student with the public school because failing just wasn't an option. In the end, it brought me to UCSD where I chose to continue my education.
My childhood wasn't just divorced because my parents were, but my age appropriateness had been uprooted from 9 and metamorphosized to 40. I was so affected by familial struggles, I failed my classes at Indiana University and moved home to support my mother. Now at 19, I had to just transform and compromise my age group in order to save my mom. Working in the structure of the corporate world, I was no longer around 19 and 20-year-olds, but replaced into a social setting of late 20-somethings and married individuals. Not only did this force my maturity to establish, but I became very disconnected with collegiate life. Once I got into UCSD, things started falling into place, but assimilating to college life I found was my greatest challenge. 1 year, 1 degree, and an understanding and corralling my mindset and businesswoman ways back into my actual age group for the first time was all I could ask for. There were moments when I wanted to give up, but how could dominant familiar responsibility be just one manifestation? It couldn't. The struggle to maintain my own individual body provided the biopower in my life, needed differently to figure my power relations as related to my elders and peers.
In figure skating, the competitors are always under the huge pressure of keeping up a physically perfect facade. Skaters are constantly subservient to the dominant modes of society's expectations of female figure skaters' physical and aesthetic appearance. Society expects us to be aesthetically perfect in appearance anytime we perform. Every movement is watched, and every mistake is judged. In high school, I had the opportunity to skate for the Taiwanese national figure skating team and compete in various junior Grand Prix around the world, and had I continued to skate, I could have potentially been able to compete in the 2010 Olympics. I'm frequently asked why I didn't continue skating since I had a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but I chose to stop skating and go to college because the constant pressure and expectation that skating had on my life led me to rebel and give up the sport so that I could finally have a normal life, where I wasn't constantly being judged, watched, and sculpted to be perfect. I was trapped in the panoptic prison of the skating world, where although there was no one physically judging me at all times, the pressures to be the ideal figure skater followed me everywhere. I ultimately ended up at UCSD because the skating culture became too much for me to handle, and I didn't want to have to deal with the expectations from the people and power of the sport dominating my life anymore.
Since I can remember, I have always lived life as if I were governed by one big panoptic prison. At an early age, I felt this permanent sense of visibility to authoritative people and figures, which in a disciplinary sense influenced the decisions I made in my life. Becoming a man amidst a social economy of power affected the way I chose to grow up. My decisions purified the social essence of the masculine stereotype, enlisting this construction of what it meant to not only be a man, but the ultimate hero who sacrificed, risked his own life, and developed the skills and strength to be physically indestructible. Sure, my parents were proud, but that does not make me content with who I am. Every man desires power, not just the ability to surpass and overcome resistance, but to possess the power to dominate others.
How can we govern other people, form other people, obtain that people behave in a certain way? Which are the best means, the most economical means, the most efficient means in order to obtain that? And that's the discipline.